Hey there, I'm Adam Holwerda, and I just wanted to do a short video about something that I saw recently that's pretty concerning, at least in my opinion. I know that AI is everywhere at this point, and I've even worked with it in jobs that I've had and using it for various things for programming, but I didn't think that we would be so quickly reviving people from the dead to use their likenesses as though they're alive now. So I am going to show you something that I stumbled upon the last few days. It's called Agatha Christie on Writing. It's a BBC Maestro thing. And if you don't know about BBC Maestro, because I didn't, it's a YouTube channel that's a join a subscriber only sort of thing where they literally try to do like masterclass content. Without further ado, let's get into what the trailer for this thing looks like.
I must confess, I could never have expected to be a professional author.
She would never have expected to be pulled out of the grave to speak in her own words.
If you want to be a writer, you have to find out what kind of fiction you want to write. And this will often be what you most enjoy reading. You must think of your stories as a puzzle or a game.
So
it is
look
not
how
merely a
bad
case
that
of who is the least likely culprit, but how you get there. One also needs to make sure that one is playing fair with clues.
the BBC wants to create the next Agatha Christie so bad that they're reassembling her corpse to appeal to people so that they can become an Agatha Christie type writer. We'll keep watching it.
And plots. That is where it is important to observe the rules of the game.
Just uncanny.
First and foremost, the long arm of coincidence cannot be too freely employed.
I was going to say, are those gloves or is that
must
hands?
ever help the detective, nor must they ever have an unaccountable intuition which proves to be right. The detective should drive your story onward. Very rarely do I open with a murder on page 1. I think that the right length for a detective story is 50,000 words. What really matters in most of my books is that there are plenty of bodies. I will pass
they like
on
add a
the
little
best
bit of
advice
like,
I can
oh, she's
from my
joking.
own experiences. But I should warn you, you must be serious about it if you wish to be a success. I am Agatha Christie, and this is my BBC Maestro course on writing.
Okay. So that's it, essentially. That's the trailer for it. They did post a making of. So just before we even get into like let's talk about this, I'm gonna scroll down on this page a little bit so that you can see the like ratio. So there's 320 likes, 800 dislikes on this. Came out a month ago, has 17,000 views total. People will say things like, so people can take a course on how to succeed in a creative field by AI software designed to replace creatives. Thank you, commenters, for having the appropriate reaction. I believe consumers do not want AI. We want real connections with actual human beings through art. I was interested in the Alan Moore course, but this turns me off from BBC Maestro as a whole. You can see on the side here, I've been watching some of the Alan Moore ones, but I think they're just using him to get people interested in this BBC Maestro thing, right? You don't know how she would have chosen to present herself in a transmission, when she would have decided to smile or not, or in which way she would have read or edited this. You don't know any of these things. She was an actual person, not a puppet or a publicly owned character. These are lesser and entitled people pretending to be Agatha Christie on taxpayers' money. Christie's far relatives may own her book rights, but they have no ownership of her, none. Okay, I'm not going to look at the rest of these, but let's literally just talk about this. Let's literally just talk about what this is and what this means. Because what it means is that in the future, there's going to be a writing course by Philip K. Dick. using Philip K. Dick's likeness and his voice and his mannerisms, and he will be reanimated from death, speaking to you as though he's alive, as though he knows that he's creating a course for you, as though he knows that he's a sentient, living, concurrent, contemporary writer when he's been dead since 1982. This means that in the future, there's going to be an Isaac Asimov course where he teaches you to write a series like Foundation. There's going to be a J.R.R. Tolkien course where J.R.R. Tolkien teaches you to write something like The Lord of the Rings. There's going to be a course by a dead person. There's going to be a course by Edgar Allan Poe where he's going to teach you how to do unity of effect and how to be a like the principle of poetics. I don't like do you see where this leads, right? And I'm not trying to do like the slippery slope stuff. This is literally reanimating dead people to create money for people who are alive now. And corporations are doing this. Like, this is the BBC. This is the BBC doing this. I want to mention also that, like, I've messed around with some of these video generation AI tools that they have now, and you cannot reanimate people from the past. You're not allowed to. So kind of what they're doing here is already going against the terms of service of the new, like, generative AI video models that are in existence now. It's wild stuff. It is wild stuff. They also, on this BBC Maestro channel, they have a video where they go and they talk through how the course was made. Let's take a look at that.
She was so successful because she was brilliant.
Imagine you didn't know she's dead.
Creative imagination. Sometimes you're just a genius, and she was. She could plot amazing murder mysteries in a way that nobody else has been able to do.
Agatha Christie changed storytelling forever. She defined and refined the art of murder mystery writing. Her stories are still enjoyed by millions today. 50 years after her passing.
50 years. 50 years after her passing. Do you understand? Like, she had no way of possibly ever knowing that this would be a possibility, that her corpse, her likeness, could be reanimated and her, like, written advice to writers could be reused and repackaged in this way. And notice how they said millions of people still enjoy her stories. That's why they did this, because they need millions of views. They need people who liked Agatha Christie to plop down their $20 or whatever the subscription fee is for this BBC Maestro membership. They need those millions of people to cough up whatever money that they have now to get advice from this dead person. The unaccountable, all these people who created this are the ones who are creating this. She's an unaccountable person who was not around. And they're just using her as though she is a meat puppet. Not even a meat puppet. Like, she's a skeleton at this point. You could have predicted this thing. This could have been like a Black Mirror episode. And here it is. Here it is. We're in 2025. And it's just being presented as though it's de rigueur. Sorry, my French is pretty bad.
We are still reading Agatha Christie because essentially she is murder mystery. She was also my great-grandmother. She died when I was young, but I grew up surrounded by stories of her and her stories.
Agatha Christie.
So I'm supposed to feel bad and allow this because this guy is her grandson. I'm sorry. Being somebody's grandson doesn't allow you to bring them back from the dead. For money.
She's the most successful novelist in the history of the human race. She is, without doubt, a true maestro in her field.
This course is the chance for
Okay, do you notice how in that last clip the guy said that she is? Listen.
Successful novelist in the history of the human race. She is, without doubt, a true maestro in her field.
She is a maestro. Not she was a maestro, as in we made her again, she's alive again. Here she is.
This
That's
course
the
is the
CEO.
chance for aspiring writers to learn from the master of the murder mystery genre.
Before anything happened, we had to approach the Agatha Christie estate. We prepared a full presentation.
Before anything happened, we had to approach the Agatha Christie estate. We had prepared a full presentation. This is the language of money exchanging people. This is somebody coming to you with like, hey, I've got a way to make a lot of money. Do you want in on it? The only thing you got to do is allow us to dig up your grandmother's corpse.
And we went and presented to James, Agatha's great-grandson.
When BBC
Great-grandson.
Maestro first approached my family about creating a writing course using my great-grandmother's words and likeness, I didn't know what was possible. But the only thing I realized was that whatever it was, it had to be first class.
Agatha Christie has been my personal hero.
So he's like, okay, if you can make it really good, if it's really good, then dig that corpse up, dude. Let's go. The only thing that matters is the quality of it. If it's like really good quality, like then the whole idea of reanimating a corpse no longer hits me in a negative way. Also, how much money are you putting in my bank account right now? If you put millions in my bank account right now, I will say whatever you want. Also, that's my great-grandmother. That's not my mom. That's not my grandma. That's two levels removed. I'm the beneficiary of the estate. Let's go. Let's do it.
Since I was 11 years old and I first picked up why.
Okay. Honestly, here's what I think should happen. After that guy's dead for a while, there should be an AI course that comes out that's like how to reanimate your great-grandmother's corpse for money and for fun and profit. And it should be from that guy's perspective, literally just making him say whatever. The James Christie AI bot is just going to be like saying a bunch of shit that he never would have said in real life, selling the concept of reanimating your dead great-grandparent for fun and profit. I think that will be just desserts. I just can't believe this exists.
Why didn't they ask Evans?
I've been a fan of the golden age of fiction ever since I was a teenager and I first picked up a copy of The Moving Finger.
We presented to James what we wanted to achieve to represent and honour the legacy of Agatha Christie. One of the provisos of this project was that at every...
Okay, so like if you want to represent and honor a dead person, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do this. Like you wanted to represent and honor her. Why are you turning her into a cash grab? Just think about that. Why are you trading on the popularity of someone who's been dead for 50 years to honor them?
single stage, the family would see and have sign off on what we do.
From the start, we had three guiding principles for this project. First and foremost, and non-negotiable, the basis for the words had to be Agatha Christie's own writing. Secondly, the look and sound of Agatha Christie.
Okay, so as long as they literally made it based on what she said and it look and sound like her, everything else doesn't matter. Like, just imagine that. Like, just imagine that. So after I'm dead, somebody can take what I sounded like and looked like, and as long as what they make is based off of what I wrote, that's me. That's me. So I no longer control who I am anymore, because after I'm gone, somebody will make a video of me talking about my short stories, saying shit that I never would have said about my own short stories. And because it looks enough like me and sounds enough like me and is based enough on what I said when I was alive, that's me now. In the future, after I'm gone, I'm just like here again in a sanitized, non-existent way, and people are going to use that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Had to be authentic. And finally, the course had to be valuable for aspiring writers.
This couldn't just be a visual representation. This had to be an acted performance. It's the interaction, the personal sensation that you are learning directly from the maestro.
The first part of the process was that BBC Maestro assembled a group of academics and researchers who all are experts in my great-grandmother's work.
So I think what's important here is not the specifics of any of this. How they did it, they want to drown you in specifics of how they did it. That's not important. The important part is the precedent that this sets. The precedent that this sets is way more important than how they did it. Sure, it's like a impressive technological feat. Sure, a bunch of people worked really hard to make this happen. But the precedent that this sets, I'm sorry. I'm just not there. I'm just not there with it.
Under the heading of Mark Aldridge.
When they brought me on board, they wanted to find out what material there was about Agatha Christie, both the person but also her writing.
Oh, you could tell that
It was
guy
really
was
important
just like,
that we were...
That guy was just like, thank God. Finally, someone recognized me for being an Agatha Christie historian. Finally, there's a way to put my esoteric and extremely niche knowledge to use. Who cares if it's like spitting on her grave while I'm doing it? I'm getting paid. I'm in this documentary. I look great.
Working from Agatha Christie's
I just did hair and makeup
words.
before this.
We weren't inventing things. We weren't guessing at what she did. We really wanted to make sure that we knew
He's even got a little pop art Agatha Christie pin that he's wearing. Are you kidding me?
how she processed all this material, all of her brain power, to make these amazing best-selling novels. And we put together a script that I think we can be really proud of.
One thing James said to
You know, I just wonder, like, in the future, you'll be watching a Stephen King documentary where it's him doing his book on writing. And he'll never have done that before. Like, he'll do a course on writing, and he'll have been dead for 50 years. And you'll be watching that being like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, on writing, the course by Stephen King. And the book's like 250 pages, 300 pages, something like that. This course is going to be 25 hours long somehow. They're going to get examples from books he didn't finish until he was on his deathbed somehow. I just feel like, are we being serious with ourselves here? Or are we opening the door to a million other courses from dead people? Like in the future, are you going to take like Plato's Republic, a course about Plato's Republic from Plato himself? Are you going to, like, maybe that would be cool. What are we doing? Are we just resurrecting all the dead people from forever?
to us was that our script was the best academic analysis that he'd ever seen of Agatha's writing. I think as director, you set out a vision right at the beginning of what you want it to be, and then you assemble a team. You set out a vision.
All right, this is off topic, but look how he has a suitcase that on the bottom of it has just like a screen. That's the only cool part about this video. There's a suitcase that has a screen on it. That's really cool. That's about it.
Vision right at the beginning of what you want it to be, and then you assemble a team and they work all to their best.
Like, why? Okay, so I know that I'm just pausing this a lot, but like, why is it about what this guy wants at all? Why is it about what this guy wants and how he's going to assemble a team to do a thing that he wants? It's not about him wanting anything. Agatha Christie didn't have any control over this. Like, she should have been the person who wanted this or not. And like, this means that in my will and in everyone's wills from now on, I have to put a clause that says you will not, under any circumstances, create a artificial intelligent likeness of me talking about my art and explaining to people how to do what I did. That's where we're at now. We're in a place where we have to create wills that include this clause that says, don't bring me back from the dead just to use my corpse as a teleprompter for somebody's script. Like, it's disgusting.
Of their creative abilities, I think it was our job to bring that script to life.
First and foremost, and at the heart of this project, are the words. But to bring those words to life took an extraordinary performance from our actor, Vivian Keane.
From about 150 actresses that we sampled, we ended up with about 6. The process was quite long. It took around a year and a half, I'd say, from start to finish before we found the brilliant Vivian Keane. When we auditioned Vivian, it was apparent that she was perfect for the role. She really...
I'm not going to say anything about the actress. Like, you're able to, like, if this job exists, you can sign up for it. That's not who I'm mad at.
brought Agatha to life in the script that we gave her to read.
Working with Vivian Keane was an absolute gift. I've never seen anybody put so much into a performance. We thought we were dealing with Agatha Christie for 2 or 3 days. It was amazing.
Oh,
It's unlike anything I've ever...
they literally thought it was Agatha Christie, you guys. Oh my God. They thought literally maybe that for 2 or 3 days, Agatha Christie had like really come back from the dead or some shit. As if they would know the person who died 50 years ago is probably nothing like this at all. So what are you talking about? We thought she had come back for 2 or 3 days. No, that's just you lying to yourself to make yourself feel better that you did a morally reprehensible thing by creating this BBC Maestro course.
Done before. I don't think I'm ever going to get her voice as such, but I've got the cadence. Just trying to get that period feel, because she's got the voice that is very much of her era, I think. And the more I looked at her stuff as well, I think she's just feisty and funny and so ordered, and she really studied her craft.
I find that with a lot of actors that they really get into character when they get...
Does anyone know what consent is my question. Because, like, the person cannot consent to this.
Into costume, it really helps them to embody the character that they're playing. So I did quite a lot of research to find out what Agatha's engagement ring looked like. She quite often would have her brooch here on the lapel of her jacket. Because she was so detail-focused in her writing, it makes sense that she would be so detail-focused in how she put herself together as well. With Viv, I think it really helped her to embody Agatha.
This is not an impersonation, it is an interpretation. And on top of that, we have used technology to bring these words to life in a way that would not have been possible before.
This groundbreaking production requires...
Okay, there's 5.5 minutes into this, and I still have there's no indication that any of the things that Agatha Christie wrote herself are being used. Like, did she write an entire, like, here's how to write did she write a whole, like, here's a blueprint for a writer if you're gonna be like, I have no idea where any of this is coming from, to be honest. And I feel like they should have just been upfront about this. Like, oh yeah, Agatha Christie wrote, like, hundreds of pages about, like, she was gonna publish this book about writing, but she never did. And, like, where is it coming from?
Different disciplines with all the visual and audio effects, but then it had an added AI dimension to take on board. So assembling the team for this project was...
It wasn't an added AI dimension. That was a subtractive AI dimension. Let's be honest.
It's kind of unique for BBC Maestro because obviously they used all the same, filming crew that we'd always used, but there was a whole new set of people that we'd not used before. So we were introduced to, like, the wardrobe, the hair, the makeup.
So the thing about hair is that it's got a life of its own. We knew that we couldn't use AI for the hair. We needed to make it look natural. I think if this project was 100% computer generated, it would look fake. So I think it was...
Yo, it is fake. Yo, it's fake. So you're worried about it looking fake? It is so fake. Bro, it's not the hair that makes it fake. I'm sorry. That is like, that's major cope right there. If they're like, oh, we need to just make the hair look good and then everything will work out. Like, no, dude, the whole thing is fake.
Important that we got the softness of the hair.
We thought it was incredibly important.
It's like, dude, like, oh man, like I thought this was bad, but then I realized that they really, like, there was a softness in the hair. And then I was fine with it. I was really against this until I saw that the softness in the hair was... Like, are you serious?
Important to give Agatha a very real environment to inhabit. Rather than recreate an authentic reproduction of where she might have worked, her library or study, we felt that it was more important to create a rather more poetic atmosphere for her. So we started researching the period and picking out beautiful pieces that we could put in her room that had authenticity and atmosphere for. We felt that it was more authentic reproduction of where she might have worked, her library or study. We felt that it was more important to create a rather more poetic atmosphere for her. Create a very real environment to inhabit. Rather than recreate an authentic reproduction of where she might have worked, her library or study, we felt that it was more important to create
Why did we feel that it was more important to recreate a poetic
atmosphere for her?
A poetic atmosphere for her?
So we started researching the period and picking out beautiful pieces that we could put in her room that had...
Okay, so we made it even more fake. We just made it so fake. She didn't use these inkwells. We just found some inkwells, bro.
Authenticity. We ended up using the same model as the typewriter she would have written on.
Oh.
We had to think about...
Oh, we found a similar typewriter. Put that in there.
This palette of the world that she inhabited.
We'd never used...
It's kind of gross, I think. And they're calling it an interpretation, which means they can do whatever they want and still put her name on it. What I don't get is why didn't they do all the same stuff and then put a name on it that was obviously not Agatha Christie? You could do something that was like a play off of Agatha Christie, like Agatha Misty. Like, why not just use a made-up persona that seems a lot like Agatha Christie? Come up with something. You had to use a real person? And then you're not even including stuff from their actual life? I'm confused.
An AI technology team, you know, visual effects. We'd never used voice manipulation. So we all had our roles to do, which there was an extra disciplines on top, which we haven't had before with BBC Maestro courses.
It was an interesting project because it had an extra level of complexity, because not only was I working with the director and the creative team that would...
How many people involved in this were like, hey, should we do this? Because this feels wrong. That's what I want to see in this documentary. Why are none of these people being like, hey, at first I was like, hey, this feels wrong. Why is nobody saying like, hey, this feels wrong? But I decided to keep doing it because... Nobody is saying that. They're only allowed to talk about the technical specificity of what they've achieved.
Would normally work with, I suddenly had an AI visual effects technician who had certain parameters that we needed to work with as well, in terms of the lighting had to match some of the data set of photographs and film that they had of Agatha Christie in that time period.
This course has real value to Agatha Christie fans, but it's more than that. It's something that anybody who wants to write can really get something out of. And if you're going to learn about writing, then I think you should want to learn from the world's best-selling novelist.
The team for this BBC Maestro course was a much bigger team. It's almost reached 100 people who have worked on this project. So
wow,
for an AI project, it wasn't
God. Wow, 100 people. 100 people were able to bring back someone's likeness from the dead.
Simply somebody who pressed a button on a computer and then it all just suddenly appeared and we typed in anything that we ever wanted Agatha to say. It's Agatha in her own words.
It required more people to create a truly authentic, realistic AI representation of Agatha.
What has been absolutely incredible from every individual participant is the care, love and attention. Every specific detail, every
She's dead, dude. She's dead. She's been dead for 50 years. The care, love, and attention, it's to make money, dude. It's not honoring some dead person.
Attention has been paid by a team who all felt the same.
I think we did do that script justice.
I must confess that this is all rather new to me. As I have been writing and publishing my novels and short stories for quite some time now, I have often been asked about my technique by interviewers.
My family approached this project with great
Holy
love
shit.
and respect for my great-grandmother. At the heart of this was my father, who knew Agatha Christie better than any person alive. At times, he was astounded by how similar to his grandmother this version was. And my view is that if he can enjoy this project, we can all enjoy it, and it can be enjoyed by people all over the world.
My promise to
I'm like, hey, you know what? As long as somebody's grandkid can enjoy it, as long as we get the approval of one person who's not the dead person, it's fine. It's fine to open the Pandora's box to the rest of whatever this means.
you is that I will pass on the best advice I can from my own experiences.
When we went to see the BBC to tell them of this project, we were genuinely nervous. There's a lot of concern over AI, quite rightly, and so we had to explain to the BBC that this would be a job creator, it would be something that would be important and useful, and it would be something that expresses AI not to invent words for Agatha Christie, but to represent Agatha Christie in her own words.
What did he say? What did he say?
We had to explain to the BBC that this would be a job creator.
We had to explain to the BBC that this would be a job creator? Are you serious? We knew that people were anti-AI. But we had to explain that it would be a job creator? What does he say?
World.
My promise to you is that I will pass on
She cannot promise anything to us. That was not her. That's nobody.
the best advice I can.
She can't pass on any advice. She's dead. She's dead. You guys don't understand. This is all a lie, man.
From my own experiences.
Sure, like maybe it's her own experiences. They didn't explain where the content comes from. Where does it come from? Did they synthesize some shit from ChatGPT? Nobody explained that part.
When we went to see the BBC to tell them of this project, we were genuinely nervous.
You should be nervous. You shouldn't have gone there with that project. Why'd you do this?
There's a lot of concern over AI, quite rightly, and so we had to explain to the
Quite rightly. But what do you mean? When you say quite rightly, why do you think there's concern? Quite rightly, but you ignored it? Like, what do you mean by quite rightly?
BBC that this would be a job creator, it would be something that would be important and useful, and it would be something that expresses AI not to invent words for Agatha Christie, but to represent Agatha Christie in her own words.
I just feel like when you're like, hey, it's going to be important and useful, and that's why we should do this one, you just don't take into account the fact that it's going to be used in a lot of situations and in a lot of, like, it's not going to be useful a lot of times, and it's not going to be important a lot of times, and yet you've just paved the way for those times to exist. Like, people in the future are going to be bringing back Clark Gable to be their main actor in a movie. Do you understand? There's going to be a movie, like a Hollywood, it comes out and literally the actor is going to be Clark Gable. Like, do you understand?
Agatha Christie's stories are enjoyed today as much as they were in her day. My 12-year-old son has just started reading them, and it is extraordinary how he gets to the end of each book and is astounded and annoyed that he hasn't been able to guess the culprit. I think this is absolute proof of the genius of her storytelling. I have no hesitation in saying how incredibly proud we are of what we've achieved.
I am Agatha Christie, and I
am Vivian Keane, and it has been my honour and privilege to play Agatha Christie.
Yeah, okay. This is one of those things that, like, Agatha Christie, in her own words, this is my BBC Maestro course on writing. Exactly. She didn't ever say that. She never said that. So look, we have 336 likes, 1.4 thousand dislikes on this. Some more comments. I collected and read everything that Agatha wrote. This is the definition of ghoulish. I've paid for a couple BBC writing courses, but I won't be doing this one. Just because her family sold out doesn't mean I'll be buying in. There's also some people who are like, I truly hate AI, but in this case, I'll give it a go, possibly because Agatha Christie's legacy has become such a universe in and of itself. I'm like, it's getting people. My God. BBC, are you so short of real ideas and real people? This is positively gross. Shame on you. The fact that this is something that's going on in today's day and age is not unbelievable. In fact, I feel like it's kind of indicative of how fast everything is going, where something like this can get pushed through and approved and people eat it up. I mean, obviously there's a big backlash, but they're going to end up making a lot of money off of this course they made from a dead woman. That's going to be used as a case study for other companies who want to do the similar thing. What's even better than getting the license to a bunch of stuff that was written a long time ago? Getting the license to a dead person. Now you can make that dead person say and do whatever you want them to do under your brand. Like, that person is a BBC Maestro branded dead person. Imagine, like, Disney in the future is going to be trying to fight for the rights of Chris Evans's dead body so that he can replay Captain America a million times after he's dead. Do you understand what this is? Anyway, I just had to make that video. It's ridiculous to me, and I just needed to point that out. I don't really know who's talking about it, but crazy.